Okay, so welcome everybody to today's webinar about how market intelligence can help travel companies grow and win their markets with insights into companies like Kayak, Delta Airlines and Marriott Hotels. Today's webinar will be presented by myself, Jessica, a product marketing manager at SimilarWeb, and my colleague Emily, one of our product consultants.
Thanks, Jess. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today to tell you more about how SimilarWeb can help companies in the travel industry grow.
Thank you, Emily. So personally, as a product marketing manager, I've spoken to hundreds of travel companies over the past couple of years, globally, learning about the different challenges that they face. And we're very much looking forward today to sharing some of our findings and knowledge that we've gained. Today's agenda will cover a short introduction to SimilarWeb for those of you that are not familiar with us, including our range of market intelligence solutions, how we collect our data, and some of our existing customers in the travel industry who have already seen the value of market intelligence to the growth of their businesses. Then we'll cover a number of use cases, including benchmarking yourselves against industry leaders, optimizing your user acquisition strategies based on the digital strategies of your competitor, OTAs, airlines and hotels. Finally, we'll analyze how hotels.com and booking.com can increase their bookings by understanding each other's audience behavior. At the end, we'll have 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A to answer your questions that you asked throughout today's webinar. SimilarWeb began about 10 years ago and released its first paid product, the SimilarWeb Pro SaaS platform, about 4 years ago. Since then, we've released the API, which allows businesses to integrate the Pro data in high volume directly into their systems and tech stack. About 1 month ago, very excitingly, we launched our third product called SimilarWeb Digital Insights, which are custom reports built to solve strategic business challenges. I'm sure you're all working with direct measurement solutions where you can see your own data, but what about the bigger picture and going beyond your data to understand your competitive and market landscape? So our unique multi-dimensional data collection approach is the foundation of our entire business. We collect the data we use to build our product in 4 key ways. First, we have our international panel. We own the largest and most diverse panel in the world, comprised of hundreds of millions of user devices which use one of our thousands of free apps or add-ons in exchange for access to their anonymous mobile app and website usage data. Our learning set at the bottom there. Hundreds of thousands of websites and apps directly share their analytics data with us to help us explain the digital world. This helps us offer more precise data by calibrating our algorithms on our estimations and fixing our statistical model on behavior in the digital world. Next, we have our crawler. We created our own crawler that collects billions of data points every month from around the web and digital world, just like Google and Bing do. And we use that data mainly for our category classification of any website in the world. Finally, SimilarWeb purchases ISP data just to complement our panel data and integrates that into our system as well. In a world of constantly changing data sources, continuing to build our data set using as many different sources as possible is why we are able to stay ahead of the competition. So all of that data is then cleaned, categorized, processed, machine learning and complex statistical algorithms are applied to it, and the result is the estimations for the entire digital world that you see in the SaaS, API, and Digital Insights reports. Okay, so I think we all understand the importance of market intelligence data, but why SimilarWeb? SimilarWeb's unique selling points include its global and multi-platform data, covering over 190 countries in our worldwide view, and with granular country-level data for 58 markets across desktop, mobile web, and apps. We provide insights at the level of a website, an app, an entire industry, and a keyword, including traffic, engagement, audience, and conversion data. Finally, our simple UI and our API means it's easy to draw out key insights for your business. SimilarWeb has customers across all subsectors of the travel industry, including airlines, OTAs, and hotels, as well as many big agencies and brands, and you can see a few of them here. Okay, so before we dive into the platform and talk through the key use cases of market intelligence for travel companies, I want to highlight a few interesting industry trends that have emerged over the past year. So if we start by looking at airlines, we see that Delta has increased its pay-per-click traffic by 852% in the past 12 months. And we see that JetBlue, another airline, has the highest conversion rate of the top 5 airline sites in the US at 13%. We're going to talk more about conversion rates later, so we'll dive into the platform and show how we saw these numbers. Moving on to hotels and accommodation sites, we see that although Airbnb's traffic is 15% higher than Booking.com, Booking.com's conversion rate is almost 150% higher than Airbnb. That serves as a great indicator as to the quality and relevance of that traffic, as well as where each company is focusing their efforts and resources. Finally, when looking at the on-site searches on TripAdvisor's site in the US, we see the top domestic geo-related searches are things to do in San Francisco, San Diego, and Seattle. Very heavily East Coast focused. Sorry, something in my throat there. Here I put together a scatter plot of the top 10 travel sites in the world, with the x-axis showing average monthly visits and the y-axis average visit duration. At first glance, there are two obvious outliers. We've got Booking.com, which has by far the highest volume of visits, but not the highest engagement rate. Expedia, on the other hand, has significantly higher visit duration than the other sites, but is by no means the biggest site in terms of traffic volume. One more thing I noticed was that the two airlines in this list, Ryanair and Southwest, have very similar visit numbers and visit durations. So hopefully we've sparked your interest now with a few fascinating insights related to the travel industry. So I'm going to hand over to Emily, who's going to start by showing you how you can benchmark yourselves against industry leaders and dive into the platform.
Hi everyone, I'm just going to jump straight into the platform. So what you should see on the screen in front of you is the SimilarWeb dashboard. Here you can access the different modules of SimilarWeb as well as any saved analysis you may have. Like Jess said, with SimilarWeb, you can analyze at an industry, website, or app level. And today we're going to touch on all three. So firstly, I'm going to navigate to the industry analysis for a macro level overview. In industry analysis, you can choose from over 250 pre-made categories, which you may see down here. But for this example, we've chosen the travel and accommodation and hotels in which Marriott are placed. In industry analysis, we can look at an 18-month view, but I'm going to look at a 12-month view for this example. And as Jess mentioned previously, SimilarWeb is a global solution, and here you're able to access 58 different country filters. Today we'll be looking at the United States, as a lot of you have tuned in from there, but the insights gained are still highly relevant to all other markets. So what can we see? We can see that on the overview screen that to this industry there were 3.3 billion visits from the US in the past 12 months. And we see that 53% of them came from a mobile or tablet device. This may be something you already know, as many people are on the move when booking and traveling with hotels. So understanding consumer behavior is crucial to any travel marketing campaign. So here you can see the visits to the industry at a daily, weekly or monthly granularity. This is currently set to daily granularity, and we can actually see the most popular day to visit hotels is a Monday, with an average of 3.5 million visits on that day alone. So the overview section also shows you the top 5 websites in the industry. You may notice they're a mixture of OTAs, meta search, hotel websites, and if you wanted to do a more niche analysis, you can create your own fully customizable category using this button here. So you can place up to 100 different websites from all around the web, create your own niche category and analyze it at that level. I actually created one earlier. Let me just jump into it. and this is focused solely on the hotel industry in the United States. I'm going to switch to top websites. This is going to give me a larger view of the little list we just saw. Top websites will display the top 10,000 websites in any industry, or however many you put into your custom category. You're able to see the traffic share split per website, how this has changed month on month. So currently this is the change between March and April. You can see the SimilarWeb global rank, the monthly visits, the desktop mobile split, as well as engagement metrics per website. You can also split this by desktop or mobile, but at the moment we're going to look at all traffic. So what can you see here? What jumps out to me is that Marriott are at the top. They have 23% of the total traffic to the industry in the last 12 months. Now, internally, the Marriott may think they're having excellent engagement metrics, like a 6-minute average visit duration, 24% bounce rate, but it's not until you look at the wider picture and benchmark against competitors like the Hilton, for example, that we can see improvements can actually be made. The Hilton users are staying for over 3 minutes longer on site and bounce at only 20%. So you may be interested to see how this has changed over time. If I switch to category share, and I change the date to the last 12 months once again, we are able to monitor the market share over time. We can analyze which players are gaining or losing traffic across desktop and mobile down to daily granularity. For example, we see a spike in traffic in both Hilton and Marriott at the start of January. So January 3rd, which you can see here. But out of all of them, the Marriott increased the market share the most. They increased it from 20% on January the 1st to over 29% on January 3rd, suggesting a very successful marketing campaign. Now, switching to leaders by source. Now, leaders by source is great for channel planning and marketing. Here you can see which websites gets the most traffic per channel in your industry or custom category, and which ones you can learn from to form your own strategy. We're going to take a look at search. We see a collective view at the moment, but we can split this between organic and paid. Organically, Marriott are at the top. Again, they get about 22% of the traffic from just organic keywords. But if I switch to paid, you can see that Hilton jumps into the first position. They also have excellent engagement metrics. Now what this tells me is that they're investing much more than Marriott, and they're also investing on words that are driving high quality, engaged traffic. Now we can dig deeper into the paid search traffic terms, into the paid search terms, driving traffic to Hilton, which could inform your own PPC strategy, and we're going to cover this later in the webinar. Now I just want to show you another section of SimilarWeb that you may be interested in, and that's app performance. So mobile apps are becoming increasingly crucial for travel companies to engage and convert users, especially when they're on the move. And although desktop traffic remains important, it's beneficial to see the entire picture. So here in App Analysis, I've compared the Marriott International app against the Hilton app in the United States, and again we're looking at a 12-month view. In the overview section, which you see here, you can see the engagement metrics of each individual app and how this has changed over time. In the graph, we see the current installs, which is the percentage of the total Android population in the US that have the app installed. Now this shows us a different picture to what we just saw in industry analysis, as in the app world, Hilton are leading. They overtook Marriott hotels in June in terms of current installs. And if I quickly switch to downloads, we see that Hilton have consistently driven the highest download numbers throughout the year. Unfortunately, we don't have time to dive into all the app features today, but our product consultants would be happy to show you more on a demo call. Now I'm just going to switch back to presentation mode, and Jess is going to summarize what we've just seen.
Thank you so much, Emily. I thought that was pretty insightful myself. So just to summarize, we've looked at how you can benchmark yourself against industry leaders. We've looked at how to see a complete overview of your market, either looking at one of our categories, such as accommodation and hotels, where Airbnb sits at number 1, or building your own category, so zooming in to hotels specifically, where we actually saw that Marriott was in number 1 position in terms of traffic. Then we looked at how to monitor your market share over time, and what we discovered was that Marriott's market share has been growing, so it grew from 20 to 30% in January. And we looked at how to uncover those leaders at the channel level. And when we looked at organic search, Marriott was number one, and then we flipped that to paid search, and Hilton took the number one position. Finally, we touched upon benchmarking your app's performance against competitors and saw that in June, Hilton overtook Marriott in terms of current app installs. So just before we dive into the platform again and move on to looking at revealing the digital strategies of any travel company, I just want to do a very quick poll just for fun. It's not an exam, just to test your knowledge of the travel ecosystem. So there's just one quick question here, and then Emily is going to dive into the platform and show us how we reveal the answer. Which of the following companies gets the highest percentage of their traffic from paid search? I'm now going to reveal those results to you. So we've got a nice mixture. We saw that 32% of you think it's Kayak, 39% think it's Expedia, the top choice, 24% think Priceline, 11% Orbitz, and 15% Travelocity. So we've got quite a range there. Expedia seems to be the most popular, followed closely by Kayak, but I'm going to hand over to Emily, and she is going to reveal all.
So once again, I'm going to jump straight into the platform. So here in website analysis section of SimilarWeb, I've analyzed Kayak, Expedia, Priceline, Orbitz, and Travelocity. You can analyze 5 websites in the Pro itself, but if you wanted to analyze a bulk set of data, you can use the SimilarWeb API, which can be integrated into your own internal dashboards. If you're interested in learning more about the API, feel free to reach out using the email provided at the end of the webinar. We are able to go back to 37 months of historical data in website analysis, and we also have the option to look at the last 28 days. This is updated daily with a 2-day lag, and it's great for keeping on top of trends and campaigns. But as with our previous example, I'm going to keep it on a 12-month view, and again keep it to the United States. But please bear in mind this is applicable to all markets. So what we're looking at in front of us is the marketing mix module. This provides a snapshot of the traffic channel distribution for the analyzed domains. So we're currently viewing the channel distribution in percentage mode, which shows us how much an individual website relies on each different marketing source. What we can see is that most visits to these websites come direct. Now this implies there's high brand awareness and or returning customers. So how are you meant to compete with that if you're a new player in the market? Well, you could penetrate via referrals or organic search, each of which represent about a quarter of a website's traffic. And in answer to the poll question, we can see that Expedia is the right answer. They get about 10% of their traffic from paid search. So well done, all of you who answered correctly. And those who didn't, I don't blame you, it was a tricky one. So, switching to actual numbers, then we can see that 10% actually represents about 30.3 million visits in the last 12 months. But how has this changed over time? Is this a new initiative or a long-term strategy that they've been pursuing for a while? Below you'll be able to see how the traffic has changed over time. So I'm going to switch to paid search. So this is great to keep a track of your competitors' market activities and spot shifts in their strategy, which you could counter quickly. And here we can see that Expedia have consistently driven the most traffic from the source, more traffic than the competitors, consistently over the past year. We also see that Kayak is no stranger to paid search investment either, and between December and January, they increased their visits from the source by 50%. It's likely to be linked to January sales, for instance, but you are able to confirm this if you look at the paid search keywords driving traffic to Kayak. We'll go over later how you can do that. But what impact does an increase in paid search visits have on engagement? I'm going to switch to bounce rate. And this reveals that despite Expedia having a high volume of traffic from paid search, this comes at the expense of a high bounce rate, which averages at about 22%. I'm going to hide the smaller websites so we can get a closer look at Kayak there. And what you may notice is that as Kayak have developed their paid search strategy, their bounce rate has seen a linear decline. That's fallen from about 20% in May down to just 13% in April just gone. So surprisingly, bounce rate was not really affected by the January spike in traffic. And this tells us that Kayak have a very targeted PPC strategy, which is attracting high quality visitors. We'll dig into more tactical applications later, but for now I want to keep it at a high strategic view and look at the popular pages section of SimilarWeb. Now personally, this is one of my favorite sections. I just think you can get so much from this. It gives you insight into the type of sorry, I should give you a definition first. So popular pages, that shows you the most visited pages on any website based on page views. So this can give you like insight into the type of content that is popular or being promoted by the analyzed website. Like for example, if you're a content manager, you are able to see which blog posts are the most popular, then reverse engineer back into search to see which keywords are driving that traffic. So the value is not just for content managers, but product and strategy as well, to see the most popular product and areas of a competitor's site. There are many more ways and you can utilize this data, but for this example, I'm going to switch to Kayak's competitor, Expedia. So what we can see here is that aside from the homepage, /trips is the most visited section of their website in the last 12 months. Now, this is where customers go to view their itineraries, so naturally it's checked frequently by the customers throughout their holiday, so it's no surprise that it's quite high up. But following that, we see that /flights is Expedia's most popular offering, and then this is closely followed by hotels. We can also see that they have this vacation package URL. Now, if you quickly wanted to see what that meant, you can open it using the button provided, and that's going to open up the URL for you. And here you can see that vacation packages actually relates to the search packages where you can buy a flight and a hotel bundle or a car and a hotel bundle together. But is this a new initiative or a new offering or not? You can find this out by downloading to Excel. So with most of SimilarWeb's data, you're able to export it to Excel so you can play around with the data yourself. And I did one earlier. I'm just going to show you what an export looks like. So you can get the aggregated time for the period. You can have that broken down monthly. And if you quickly just pivot the data, you can then track how the popularity or visits to a page have increased or decreased over time. What you can see here is the trend of page views for the vacation packages URL over the course of the last 12 months. So here we see there's a spike in visits in January. Now you could easily compare this trend with other trends on the website to see whether this was a collective thing or a one-off. And then you could use this data for your own type of content creation or marketing priorities, for instance. So jumping back into the popular pages module and scrolling down a bit to see what else we can uncover, we can also see things such as cruise searches, rewards and flight searches, for instance, hotel search here, and if you expand it, you can even see the most popular destinations that have been searched for a hotel in the past 12 months. So here we see that California is the most popular, which is quite unsurprising to me. I'd love to go to California right now rather than be in quite a cloudy London. And we can also see it down to sort of hotel granularity. So here we see in the last 12 months, the most popular hotel was the Novotel in New York's Times Square. I mean, it does sound lovely to me. I don't know about you.
It does sound nice. I wouldn't mind going there after this webinar.
So that's all for me from a strategic level. I'm going to cover more tactical insights later. But first, I'm going to pass you back to Jess for a nice roundup of what we've just gone through.
Thank you, Emily. That was great. So what we've seen there, just to summarize quickly, we looked at how to reveal the digital strategies of any of your competitors or market leaders, whether it's an airline, OTA, hotel. So we looked at how to analyze competitors' digital strategies, and what we saw was that kayak.com saw an increase in paid search visits in January. So that indicates kind of a change in their strategy recently. We then looked at how to uncover the strategic focus areas of a competitor, and what we saw when we looked at Expedia.com was that /flights was actually their most popular area of their site, followed by hotels. We then looked at how to discover travel industry competitors' most popular locations and hotels right down to that granular level. And as Emily showed us, we saw that Novotel in Times Square, New York was the most popular hotel on Expedia.com. So I think we all need to head there afterwards. Just to point out, I'm seeing quite a few questions come through. So for anyone else that has forgotten to ask or has something on their mind, please keep those coming and we'll get to them in the Q&A section at the end of the webinar. So now we're going to look at now that we've learned what our competitors are doing and their digital strategies, how can we optimize our user acquisition strategies based on this?
Revealing it all before. So once again, I'm going to jump straight into the platform. Now we're going to look at a more like tactical level insights. And for this example, I'm looking at Delta, Southwest, American Airlines, JetBlue, and Alaska Air. As with all the previous examples, I'm keeping it on 12 months of data and keeping it to United States. So what you're seeing on your screen currently is the search overview. Now this is showing me that in the past 12 months, Southwest have completely dominated search. They got 73.7 million visits alone. That's compared to their nearest competitor, American Airlines, who only got 63.9 million visits. So you clearly have a very good PPC and SEO manager. You can also see the organic and paid split next to this. And what we can derive is that most of these Southwest visits actually came organically, a huge 97% of it, in fact. But what else we can see is that Delta, JetBlue, and Alaska Air are trying to compete via paid search. And if you go to the graph below and switch it to paid, we can see that, as Jess mentioned at the start of the webinar, that Delta.com have increased their paid search visits massively over the last 12 months. In May, they were only getting 197,000 visits from paid search, and this, as of last month, have increased to 990,000. So I'm wondering if they're going to break the million mark this month. But what keywords are they targeting? Switching to the Keywords tab unveils all the keywords driving traffic to the analysed websites. And thanks to our data collection methodology, this includes Google Not Provided keywords across desktop and mobile. We're currently looking at the desktop view, and there are many filters you can apply here, but what I'm going to add is paid, because we want to have a look at what Delta's been bidding on. We can see a quick summary that Delta got 36% of the total paid search traffic over the past 12 months, which accounted for about 4 million visits. And if we scroll down, we can see the paid search keywords driving traffic to these groups. Now we can see Delta in the dark blue here, and we can see that the majority of the top keywords driving traffic to their website are branded. But as we scroll down, we begin to see unbranded terms that perhaps it could be optimized for or bid on if you're a competitor to try and steal some of this traffic share. For example, cheap flights here drove 0.02% of the total search traffic share to the analyzed websites in the past 12 months. Now, if I click on the button next to it that appears, this opens keyword analysis. Now, keyword analysis enables you to analyze a keyword or group of keywords to understand which websites are competing for these terms. It can give you an idea of revenue potential for untapped keywords and how hard it would be to rank or outbid your competitors. Currently, we're looking at paid competitors, but we can switch to organic if needed. And if I scroll down, we can see that CheapOair received over half of the traffic for the paid traffic, for the search term cheap flights in the past 12 months. However, if we look at the graph above, we see they were experiencing a fall in their traffic share for this keyword over time, as competitors as Kayak grew. But in the last month, we see that CheapOair have fought back and actually won some of that market share. They've increased it from 52% in March to over 59% in April. This has squeezed Kayak's market share for this keyword from 11% down to just 4%. Now what this suggests to me is that cheap flights is a highly converting keyword for CheapOair, an important driver of traffic, which they're going to defend if they're threatened. So jumping back into the website analysis, we've just touched on search, there's plenty more to see, but I'm going to switch to referrals. Referrals are becoming an increasingly important driver of traffic for airlines, as you may know, with the rise of OTAs and meta search engines. And this section is going to show you all the domains that were identified as a source of referral traffic to the analyzed websites within the chosen time frame. We can see the split between desktop or mobile. If I quickly switch to mobile, we can see that Delta is dominating with about 70% of the total mobile referral traffic visits. But for our analysis, I'm going to switch back to desktop as this collectively drives the most traffic. And scrolling down, we can see the type of categories which of the referring websites that are driving traffic to our analysed airlines. What you may notice is that Delta do not receive as much traffic from coupon websites as their competitors such as Southwest and JetBlue. Now this could be a new strategy for them, something to look into, for example. If we scroll down even more, we can see the top domains. And I was pretty blown away that Kayak represented almost 40% of the total referral visits to these websites in the last year. Now to put that in perspective, that translates to about 51.9 million visits, which is crazy. And you can see how important this relationship is to Delta, as you see the split on the side. Delta got 37% of this traffic, which translates to approximately 19.6 million visits.
That's a lot of visits.
It is. But if I were Delta, I'd want to know or ensure that this relationship is maintained. This is very important to me. And one way to do that is to track the outgoing traffic from Kayak. So clicking on this would open Kayak's website analysis. So here we're just analyzing Kayak on its own, and we're looking at the outgoing links from Kayak. This shows us all the websites that receive traffic from Kayak via a referral link in the past 12 months in the United States. And what we can see is, yes, Delta are actually top airline receiving traffic from Kayak with about 13% of the total outgoing traffic. But they should be aware, as you can see here, that United are actually catching up with them. United increased their traffic from Kayak by 3.29% month on month, whereas Delta only increased by 0.28. So they may want to keep an eye on that for the future. So that's enough from me. I'm going to pass back to Jessica for a second, again to summarize and then go into conversion level analysis.
Thank you so much, Emily. So we've just seen how you can optimize your user acquisition strategy, and we took Delta as our use case. So you can uncover the paid search strategies of your competitors, and when we did that, it's what we saw in our valuable insight at the beginning as well. We saw that Delta had some crazy increase in their paid search visits from 197,000 to over 990,000 per month. And this was mainly through branded search terms. We also looked at how you can reveal the entire keyword market landscape, and when we did our keyword analysis on cheap flights, we saw that Cheapo Air receives most of the traffic from this particular keyword. We then looked at how to increase your market share via new partnership opportunities. So we see that sites like kayak.com are so important for airlines, with driving about 20 million visits to delta.com alone. And finally, we looked at the other side, the flip side, to understand how important you are to your partners. So we saw that Delta is getting so much traffic from Kayak, and then when we sort of dig deeper, we see that American Airlines, United Airlines, they're also getting a lot of traffic from Kayak, and there's still room for optimization there. So Emily, thank you so much for walking us through the platform,
No problem.
showing us lots of valuable insights. For our final use case, which is about increasing bookings and conversions by understanding consumer behavior, we're going to look at some of our digital insights report that I mentioned at the beginning. This is a relatively new solution of ours that we launched about a month ago. So we're just going to show you, not on the platform because they come in the format of a report, we're just going to show you a couple of examples of these reports. So the first report can help you optimize your conversion funnel and identify the strengths of your competitors' funnels. So in this example, if you look at the image, we're looking at hotels.com and booking.com's conversion funnels. At the top, we see the total number of visits going to those sites. This is for a specific month that we've chosen. Then you see the next step of the funnel is the percentage of people and the number of users that started the checkout process. And finally, how many got to the thank you page, which means they actually made a purchase and converted. So I think what's interesting to note is that when we look at visits at the top, we see that booking.com actually has 300,000 more visits than hotels.com in this month, which might immediately make you think that booking.com is the stronger player, which it is in a certain element, but when we look further down the funnel, we see that actually the number reaching the thank you page is lower for booking.com. They've got 750,000 users they've converted versus hotels.com 863,000. So higher visits implies a very strong user acquisition strategy, but the lower conversion rate implies a slightly weaker user experience or product strategy for Booking.com, and I think they both have a lot to learn from each other. So by analysing the funnel, you can actually look at which stage users are dropping out of your funnel, and then you can continue to track and monitor that to try and optimize your funnel over time by looking at those strategies of your competitors and the highest performers in the market. Next, a different report, you can reveal the online behavior of your target audience. So you can actually understand the conversion overlap between one site and another. So again, in this example, looking at hotels.com and booking.com, we see that 25% of hotel.com's users are also visiting booking.com, while 21% of booking.com's visitors are also visiting hotels.com. So you can actually quantify how many sales are leaking to competitor sites, and that can lead you to optimize your paid campaigns. Maybe you want to go after those audiences that are leaking from your funnel and moving on to your competitors. And again, this is something you can monitor and measure over time to try and optimize. Okay, so as we've seen, SimilarWeb is an all-encompassing solution that can be purchased once and used across the entire business. For the more strategic teams in the company, you can use SimilarWeb to understand where you sit in the market, to benchmark your performance. For the marketing teams, it can be used to optimize PPC strategy against competitors, optimize affiliate partnerships based on sales and not just on traffic. And finally, for the sales team, it could be as simple as prospecting new partners and affiliates. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our Q&A section. The first question says, SimilarWeb data looks very insightful, but I'm not sure I have the resources in-house to analyze all of this data and turn those insights into action. Do we provide any consulting services on top of the data? So I'm glad you asked, thank you. SimilarWeb is actually just now launching a professional services arm of our business, whereby you can have access to a dedicated consultant who is not only the expert on SimilarWeb data, but will work with you to understand your business and your challenges and turn those insights into action. So thank you. Next question says, you only briefly touched upon your apps offering today. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. We didn't have enough time. But other than the couple of metrics that you showed, what other data do you provide on competitors' mobile apps? Emily,
yeah, I'll take this one. Yeah, sorry, we didn't have much time today to go into the app platform. I mean, we would really encourage you to have a demo with one of our product consultants where they can show you more. But in brief, SimilarWeb provides a number of engagement metrics. I'm just going to jump back into the platform and show you some. So for instance, we can see app demographics. We can see audience interest. You can get usage pattern over time as well as retention. Like for instance, here we see the app demographics from Marriott and Hilton, and we can see that they have a very similar audience base, mainly male and mainly that fall into the 35 to 44 category. What we're actually offering at the moment is that you can actually connect your Google Play developer accounts with SimilarWeb, and in return for providing us with valuable anonymous data, you'll be able to get free access to the app data. So please don't hesitate to reach out using the email provided at the end.
Thank you, Emily. Another question we've had is that a lot of search for flights and hotels is actually done on-site as opposed to in search engines like Google. And are we able to provide this data as well? So yes, so just before I showed you a couple of our digital insights reports, but actually we have more reports, and one of them is on-site search, where we can provide you with a list of all those search terms searched within a site. So for example, searched on kayak.com, and together with conversion rates as well for each of those search terms. So again, one of our product consultants will be happy to walk you through that report and show you some of our additional capabilities.
Yeah. For instance, you could find the most highly converted destination and then prioritize things that way.
Okay, we've had a couple more questions, and I think that's all we have time for as well. So one of the questions was, is our data available in Egypt? So some of you also might be wondering what countries our data is available in. So we have 58 granular country filters for desktop and over 20 for mobile web and mobile apps. us, and we'll be very happy if any of you are looking for a specific market or something, we can follow up with you after the webinar, or you can reach out to us and we can let you know what data we have available for your specific market. Also, another question was, do we have data for niche markets like boat rentals? So as we've tried to emphasize throughout the webinar, we collect data on every website and app in the entire world, and we categorize our websites into 250 industries, but you can also create your own industry as we saw. So you can create your own boat rental industry if that's a niche area or any other niche area, and then analyze that as a market or analyze specific websites. So it really is all available for you there. Okay, so I think that's all we've got time for. We've taken up plenty of your time already today, but I really hope that you enjoyed yourselves and learned a lot. We had some really great examples from Emily. We encourage you to reach out to our product consultants. You can email us at similarwebinars@similarweb.com. Have a great day or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and it's goodbye from us. Thank you.
Thank you.